back. We are here for more.
Yeah.
Healthier ever after. I don't even have my microphone on. Welcome
there
back.
we go. I know. Yeah.
I'm like,
I don't hear you.
Sitting around talking and chatting, and they're like, let's go.
Yeah.
Oh, this is Healthier Ever After. I'm Rick Sorensen. This is Greg Camp. We are medical providers, work in emergency medicine and a weight loss clinic. Greg started several years ago. So we are talking about, we've been talking about some myths. I think let's talk about, just as our little disclaimer, please meet with and talk to your medical provider before beginning any health regimen, weight loss program, dietary supplement, or other thing. We are medical providers, but we're not your medical provider currently. And we hope you have personal contact with a professional medical provider. This is what we talk about here is informational and educational only.
And we like to have really, and I think it's important to point out, because we're going to be getting into a little bit of the weeds today with our topic.
Yeah.
And any topic we talk about, we will always talk about like a lot of the medical stuff that comes along with it, because we're medical providers and that's what we do. But we like to keep it more conversational. Yeah. We like the science, but also we like to have this where we could talk to teenagers and, people in their 70s about this stuff, and not have it so flooded with the small little micro details into the science that no one understands what you're saying. Yeah. I mean, I listen to some podcasters that sometimes I'm like, what? Like he's just talking about and then I have to go look into this, and I just can find that a lot of times, and I think that Rick would agree, and sometimes like you're not benefited from that because you don't even know what we're talking about. We're not benefiting you, and we're trying to talk to the general public. Not if we're at a medical forum and trying to talk to medical providers about this. Yeah, it's different. We get into it maybe, but I guess what I'm saying is that we like to do most of our conversations or most of our podcasts more conversational. Yeah. No, I agree with that. And I think that's kind of why I kind of wanted to do this topic simply for that very reason. Yep. As I was thinking about some of these things, we're talking a little bit and I noticed that I worry that we sometimes talk about things, physiology or processes in the body as medical providers that may not be as intuitive to anybody. And the specific thing I want to talk about tonight is what we call insulin sensitivity, because I noticed we've talked about that. We talked about exercise. We talked about, different things that increase or decrease your insulin sensitivity, how cortisol affects insulin sensitivity, and so we dropped that. And I was like, what does that even mean to anybody? What does insulin sensitivity mean? And why is it important to understand? So we want to just break down that term tonight a little bit and what it means and why it's important. Maybe I really am a fan of understanding kind of the physiology that we're talking about, how the body works. That's what we're trying to do, is adjust things so that your body works well. And that's what is health. That's what healthy is when your body is working well, work like it's designed to, makes you feel better. You can do the things. And we're why guys. We like the why. I think that you a lot of times can get more passionate about like, okay, if I understand generally speaking how a process in my body works, so I understand, how sugar and insulin and all these systems work together, then I think a lot of times it actually helps really you formulate a plan within your own life, as opposed to, when medical providers or podcasters or, health influencers use that term insulin resistance or insulin sensitivity or anything about insulin, what are they talking about? Like, and if that's going over your head a little bit, hopefully this episode is to try to take that to where, just use an example as like when I go to the mechanic and they're working on my vehicle, I don't know what they're talking about. Sometimes they're just getting a little bit like, they're like, oh, well, yeah, if you, and then the combustion here. And they talk about parts of cars that I don't know what they are. All right. Does it go vroom, vroom? That's what I'm worried about. Yeah. I just need it to drive me. So we want to make it to where you just understand a little bit more into the inner workings of your body, because we really do think that it'll help. It helps understand what you're doing, what you're trying to accomplish. All right. So insulin sensitivity. So let's just take a step back. Let's just think of this as like 8th grade biology. Yeah, I don't even want to call it physiology. It's just biology. So your body is composed of a bunch of cells. You have muscle cells, fat cells, nerve cells, all of the cells, right? And the cells need energy. And the way your body provides energy to these cells is through sugar or glucose.
right? Glucose is the form of sugar that, it takes other forms of sugar that you eat and turns it into glucose. Glucose is the molecule that your body can transport in the blood to provide fuel for cells. In your body, your cells take the glucose in and then they turn it into ATP. I mean, they turn it into energy. They use it for energy. Okay, usable energy. So that's the thing. Now, when we talk about blood sugar, like high blood sugar, that's the glucose. That's our glucose in the bloodstream. And that's what we measure. If you go to the doctor, they take your blood and they measure your glucose. And that's what your blood sugar or your blood glucose is. And what that level in the bloodstream is determines how your body thinks it needs to handle it, right? So if it goes up, all of a sudden you eat a good meal or you have ice cream or whatever, or even a good meal, that your body digests those nutrients and that energy, and you end up with glucose in the bloodstream. Okay. So your blood glucose goes up. What your body does with that is says, hey, I need to use glucose. I have glucose. I need to use it. So the first thing I want to do is burn it up. I want to use it for energy. What do I have going on that I need energy? And your muscles, you think of your muscles, not just like muscles in your arms, legs, hands, abs, but your muscles, all of your muscles in general is like one big organ. And it's the biggest engine, biggest organ you have to burn and use glucose. Okay. So if you are talking about your body as a furnace, a calorie, glucose, sugar burning furnace, the muscles are most of that. They do most of that work. So the first thing your body says is, I have glucose and I need to burn it up. And so it produces insulin. Your pancreas is the brain there, and your pancreas produces insulin that is the signal. It's like a key that unlocks the door to the cells. Okay. And so insulin goes around and says, hey, there's glucose. I need to get it in. So insulin gets sent out to the cells. It unlocks the door to the cells that lets glucose into the cells. Right. So that's where we want it. We want the glucose to get into the cells because that's where it's functional. Things can go wrong with that process. So type 1 diabetes, let's talk about that for a second. Then we'll keep going on our biology journey. Type 1 diabetes is where your pancreas stops making insulin. So it doesn't make the keys to unlock the door. So what happens is you eat your glucose, your blood sugar goes up. People with type 1 diabetes get really high blood sugar, but their cells are starving because they can't get that sugar, that glucose into the cell to use it as fuel. And so that's the problem. And so they have to give themselves insulin that their pancreas isn't making so that it can open the door, unlock the key, open the door, and let glucose into the cells to use it as energy and then take it out of the bloodstream, right? So that's how that goes wrong. So that's what the body's doing. Now, you got your glucose spike, insulin sends the signal, opens the cells, lets glucose in, and your body uses it. And it'll burn what it can. And then if there's still glucose, then it says, okay, then I'm going to store a little bit in the liver with glycogen. I'm going to make some glycogen. I'm going to store a little bit of this for like immediate needs. And then if I have extra glucose, then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to unlock the key to the fat cells, and I'm going to just store more fat. So any excess calories that you're not using, the body puts it into the fat cells to store it for later. And so that's kind of what's happening with that.
I just thought of an analogy. I want to just before you move on from that,
I'm a big fan of analogies.
I'm listening to you and I'm like, oh, this is like kind of how I imagine this in my mind's eye. So you can imagine, like, if you're thinking about like when you were going to school, elementary school or high school, the hallways are the bloodstream. And before school starts, right? Like, I mean, think about it, just madness, or in between classes, there's madness.
Your student level goes up.
Your student level, or in this case, your glucose. Now imagine all the students in the hallway. It's just cram packed. Like, it's just, the hallways are full. Now, how do you get the hallways to be clear? And then, like, look at those hallways during class. They're kind of empty. They don't, maybe a few students, a janitor. But what the insulin is trying to do is, that's the school monitor or a teacher that's saying, hey, let me go and open these doors for these students to go into these classrooms. That's your cells. So the little classrooms. Now, let's say that you get all the classrooms full and everything's done that way, and we still have
a bunch of students in the hallway.
They're going to take them to the auditorium where let's call it your fat storage.
Yeah.
So they're excess students. We don't have anywhere to put them. So we're going to put them in the auditorium to leave them there. And we don't want them there. We actually want them in the classroom. But there's no more classroom spaces. There's no more seats.
Yeah.
And so the idea is that you want to honestly really just empty the hallway out. When the students are in the hallway, you need to find a classroom for them.
Okay.
I don't know. That's maybe kind of a crazy analogy.
I like it. I like it a lot, but there are some issues with it. And so number one, for the rest of my life, I'm going to think of my gut as my auditorium.
I know, right?
It's full of students.
Yeah.
So number two, I think the analogy only breaks down in that once the students are in the classroom, we don't burn them.
Correct.
For fuel.
It's a good point.
But that's what your body's doing. It takes your students and it burns them up, and then it uses them. And then you can, if you need more, you take them from the auditorium or from more students.
Yeah, as you eat,
you get more students coming into
the
school.
hallway. Yep.
So you get them either from more eating or from the auditorium, and then you take them to the classrooms to burn them.
Yeah, when I thought of this analogy,
it was really good until
it was good until you're like,
what do they do in the classroom?
Yeah. So yes.
So they get the fuel gets used up in the classroom.
Sure.
Right. The cells burn it up, and then you need to do more. I like that auditorium though. Yeah. So in the hallway. Okay. So type 1 diabetes, like I talked about, is the doors never get unlocked. The janitor doesn't show up with the keys to the rooms.
Yeah. Everyone,
all the students are still in there. Nobody in the classroom to learn, and the classroom's function.
Yeah. Now imagine you have all the kids in the hallway, and you just keep adding kids. Like they're not going anywhere. You're not dispersing the kids to the classroom. So
you're going to fill the auditorium.
Yeah. I mean, everything's going to be an overload.
It's overload. Yeah. Okay. So insulin. Now, so that's what insulin does. Now, what the other thing that happens over time is, so then we talk about insulin sensitivity. Let's talk about what that means then, is you can do things for your body that make the key work better.
Yep.
Right. And that's what insulin sensitivity is. When we talk about, exercise, resistance training, whatever, increases insulin sensitivity. What that just means is the cells respond better to insulin. So you only need a little bit of insulin to open all the keys, to open the gates, to let the glucose into the cells to burn for fuel.
And maybe think of it as like the classroom has 2 doors, or maybe just a big wider door. You just can accept that glucose so much easier.
Yeah. Right. And insulin sensitivity specifically is that it responds to that key. Insulin resistance is the opposite of that. And that's what leads to what we call type 2 diabetes, is your pancreas just sometimes the locks get rusty. The cells don't respond well. Their insulin resistance goes up so that it takes more keys, more insulin to open the gates to let the glucose into the cells. And so what your body sees is, wow, I'm given this insulin, but it's not lowering the sugar. It's not, the glucose isn't getting into the cells as much. The students aren't leaving the hallway as quickly. So I need to get more insulin. So your pancreas makes more insulin because the cells don't respond to it as well. So it has to give more to respond. And over time, the pancreas wears out.
Yeah.
Because
it can only do so much.
Yeah. The cells are not responding. And so all of a sudden your pancreas can't make the amount of insulin that your body needs to open all the rusty locks that have insulin resistance.
Yep.
And so that's what type 2 diabetes is your pancreas stops being able to meet the increased need to open those gates to let glucose into the cells. So it stays in the hallway, it stays in the bloodstream and not into the cells where it's needed to be, and causes all kinds of other problems. So that's what insulin resistance is, or really it's the precursor to type 2 diabetes. So when we talk about, we want to increase insulin sensitivity, that's simply making your body more efficient for insulin so that it doesn't have to wear your pancreas out.
Yep.
And it ultimately leads to a more efficient and better functioning machine. All right. So that's kind of physiology in a nutshell. So there are things that then we can talk about with like exercise. We talk about exercise is the big thing because your muscle is the biggest glucose sink. It's the biggest, like it's most of the classrooms are muscle.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. You got your brain that's going to require some and always needs some, right? You have your heart, and obviously you're working your lungs, but what makes all these work? I mean, really the heart is just, even though it's maybe a different type of muscle, it's not skeletal muscle. It's muscle that still requires, sugar or glucose to run. And so it's just really but it's small, right? Your heart's always going, but it's small. It's not going to have the uptake your big thigh does, or you're just not going to have that uptake. It requires some, but not a large amount.
Yeah. And simply having a little bit more muscle by doing some resistance training is helpful. Even just a short walk after a meal blunts the glucose spike because using those muscles opens those doors, makes them more sensitive, and opens doors. And actually there's something else there. So there's this side chain. So the glucose transporter type 4, think of this as a side door or the window, or that you can get into the classroom a different way, and your muscles have this. So as you exercise and move your muscles, use your muscles, they move these like transporter molecules to the cell membrane. So it's like opening up a side door to the classroom that doesn't require insulin. It's like the teacher's aide has a back entrance, opens it, hey kids, come on in here, and like invites the glucose in without even needing insulin.
Which is a beautiful thing, because it really then that makes it to where your pancreas doesn't have to produce as much insulin to be able to do its job, which keeps that sensitivity high and keeps you from getting insulin resistant, because you're having to crank out more and more insulin.
Yeah, it just makes you're more responsive. And there's other things as well. So using your muscles, resistance training, and frequently it just the actual just use of the muscles helps this process. And that's the biggest thing. But there's other things we've talked about as well, and that's why this kind of comes up in our conversation is losing visceral fat. As you lose weight, and the fat around your organs in your body, that makes you less sensitive or more resistant to insulin. Poor sleep, chronic stress, and causing your chronic stress hormones to go, your cortisol. Like those are things that make you more resistant to insulin. And so there are those, all the things we've talked about: reducing stress, better sleep, reducing visceral fat. That's those are things that help this process and help your body deal with it and manage.
And we kind of went into this, and on a broader picture, we went into this a little bit on our myth busting episode, I think number 2, when we kind of talked about how, there's a lot of different things that you can do to solve a lot of these various issues. It's not just one thing. You're not going to do the juice cleanse and fix all of this. You're not going to, just walk and eat horrible and fix it all. Like it actually is a various or like a multitude of things that you can do that really help with this. So, you can, yes, of course, you can really help yourself by building, muscles up to your ears. But for some people, that's not really the answer to this, right? Some people don't want to go and get big muscles or huge muscles and lift heavy weights and all that stuff. So, I mean, you think about these bodybuilders that lift, massive amounts of weight and have huge muscles. They can also consume 6,000 calories in a day. And that's different than me consuming 6,000 calories in a day. But why can that guy do that and still remain like pretty fit and lean, but big? And it's because he is the amount of energy it takes to actually manage those muscles.
I think I remember several years ago, 16, I don't know how many years ago, when Michael Phelps had his big run in the Olympics. I think I have this thing in my head. I think they were talking about his diet during his training days was like 10,000, 11,000 calories a day.
It's insane.
So much. But again, he massive muscles and work them hours and hours and hours all day long. It's a different thing. Yeah.
He just never could. He, as fast as he could put that glucose, those kids in the hallway, they were being immediately removed. And he just, that's just what swimming was doing for him with his muscles and with the amount of energy he's expending. You saw how lean he was.
So is he the one example of someone that can out exercise a bad diet?
If you're swimming as hard, if you're an Olympic athlete,
if you can outswim Michael Phelps, eat what you want.
Yeah, do whatever you want.
That's our stand. Official.
But yeah, so just we'll call it our Michael Phelps plan.
So a couple of things. Talking about insulin resistance. Back on.
Yeah, I got off track as usual.
So there is a couple little diet levers you can think, like reducing refined carbohydrates. So your added sugar, your sugary drinks. What that can do is it decreases this big spike of glucose, which decreases the insulin demand. Your body doesn't get this thing like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do with all these students in the hallway? Like I got this massive influx. That's what the refined sugars do, and so it causes this spike in insulin to kind of take care of that quickly. And so avoiding that is helpful, and that's why protein and fiber slow that spike as well.
Well, like imagine, I think once again, I mean, using the analogies for me it's just how my brain kind of processes things. But imagine all the students being dropped off at the exact same time, like the same time. Versus that's the sugary drinks, right? Because they all hit at once. It spikes everything. So your body goes into like sheer panic mode, releasing as many as insulin as they can to try to hurry and put all the students where they go. And it really, a lot of times, even overcorrects, right?
Yep. And so that's why you feel like you get this crash and you feel tired.
What I've always referred to as the Thanksgiving effect, because you just always feel tired after you get that big Thanksgiving meal. But this happens through that. But now imagine you actually do get some carbs. Let's even just say, even if it's the bad carbs, but let's say that's combined with fiber and fats, like good fats and protein. Yeah. Now what you've done is you've basically stopped them from being absorbed as quickly. That all the students weren't dropped off at once. You actually trickled them in. Mom drops off a couple here. The bus drops off a few students here. Your body can just manage that a lot easier, just like you could if those students all showed up, kind of as they come along. Anytime your body's dealing with extremes, any direction, right? Yeah. So no students at all, you're starving yourself, you're not getting any glucose for long periods of time, or too many students at once, your body really just, it doesn't like extremes. It always is looking for homeostasis, always looking for kind of some steadiness. And so, honestly, it just, in every situation in your body is like those extremes are typically not the answer.
Yeah.
And so I really think my thought process would be, don't, like, the sugary drinks are just absorbed so quickly, right?
Yeah. I like that it's dropping everybody off at the same time. Yeah. All the glucose, your body is extremely efficient at like sucking that straight into the bloodstream.
Yeah. If you even think about it from where me and Rick work, we work at the ER and we see, let's say, anywhere from 180 to 200 patients in a day. That's all day long. Now, if all 200 patients showed up at once,
then
that's pandemonium, right? But we can take care of patients as they trickle in throughout the day. Yeah. Your body does the same with glucose. I mean, we can deal with the ups and downs of the day.
If 6 people show up all having a heart attack at the same time,
it's going to be a rough day.
5 of them are going to die.
Yeah. I mean, it's just your body can only deal with so much.
We can only do so much, right? Yeah. No, I like that because, that's just horrific to think about. But as we go through that, I mean, we deal with what we can, and sometimes you're stretched, but
and you're overwhelmed, but that's your body too, right?
Your body does that. Yeah. Your body can handle some variation, but I think, the far big extremes are not healthy, and the ones you can avoid, you ought to avoid. And that's I think what we're talking about.
And if the goal is because we talk about weight loss, of course, a ton, and if the goal is to reduce the size of the auditorium, in this case, the overload of students, because it needs to go somewhere. You can't just leave the students in the hallway, because we know what that does. That's going to lead to all kinds of other health problems. We could get into a diabetes deep dive later.
Having too much glucose for too long circulating in the bloodstream does. We could do that whole thing. Let's do that.
We should
do that on an episode.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we're talking about wrecks your kidneys, wrecks your eyes, wrecks
nerves, your peripheral neuropathy.
We'll get into that.
You said kidneys, but I'm going to say kidneys again because
terrible. It is really just it just wrecks the system. So it truly does come down to then, okay, so what can we do, right? Short of actually eating a perfect diet, because none of us are probably that's not even what we recommend, right? So short of that, like, what are the things that we can do to help our body be more insulin sensitive?
Correct.
And really to honestly use up that glucose without storing too much of it in
a healthy way.
And maintaining a healthy weight. So, and I think that's where a lot of times really the first the low hanging fruit from this, the most obvious source is really just adding good activity and lean muscle.
Yep.
And so however you want to do that, that's the walking after you eat, that's the resistance training.
Doing what you can to increase your muscle mass or even just maintain muscle mass, not lose it while you're losing weight.
Yeah.
And then using it regularly. And I think we got an episode coming up on just what exercise does to your body as well. It's because it's amazing. Like you don't need to, you literally do not need to like over exercise. The health benefits of 60 minutes a week are like if I go exercise 6 hours, the health benefit really is not a whole lot more than 60 minutes.
It's true.
In a week.
It's been shown study after study. It's wild because you meet a lot of people that really do exercise like mad people. I mean, we're talking 2 hours a day, 6 days a week.
And they like it. Some people like that.
Some people are really into that. But arguably, and once again, for Olympic athletes or something like that, honestly, like, I mean, yeah, they are training for a very specific purpose. But for, us average human beings, I don't think maybe some Olympic athletes are listening to this, but for the people that are probably more likely listening to this, not Olympic athletes.
And there's good benefit from just not overly doing it, just having some activity, using your muscles a little bit, getting some resistance training, maintaining your muscle mass. And that's going to help your body manage this, help your body be insulin sensitive and I don't know, keep your pancreas living and working well much longer than.
Well, and on a side note, keeping, like, as much as it's important to add lean muscle, like we're talking about doing activities to add that. I mean, almost arguably, or maybe even more importantly, when you're losing weight, if that's your goal, maintaining that muscle. Yeah. So if it's important to add muscle, it's equally important to maintain what you have, right? Yeah. So when you're losing weight and we talk about staying active and getting your protein to make sure you maintain good, proper muscle, a lot of the reason we do that is because, yes, the number on the scale, if that's going down because of muscle loss, that is not what we want.
Healthy. Nope.
Because ultimately it will take down that insulin sensitivity. In the long run, even though you're losing weight and doing some of the things that we know will be helpful, at the end of the day, when you're down at that more like goal weight and you want to more just maintain, now you're really having to try to rebuild some of that muscle.
So if you're here's your thing. So you're started GLP-1 medicine, you do a diet, you're doing all the things right. You're right. You're losing weight, but you're not maintaining your muscle mass. You're losing muscle weight also.
Yeah.
That's like renovating the school. And you're closing down a hallway, like you literally shut down classrooms. Yep. So now you have all the same stuff, but you have less classrooms available because your muscles aren't there. That's what they're burning anyway.
So no, it's true. It's like, I mean, so now you're just really having to do more with less classrooms. I mean, you're just having to. So you eat,
or even the same thing with less classrooms. You can't do as well.
You can't. So the truth is that we're just trying to keep, everything good while you're losing weight. And then whether you're at your goal weight or whether you're just looking to add some insulin sensitivity, whether you're looking to like make your body process more efficiently, get moving.
Yeah. Process the glucose, process the energy, make the food that you do eat work in an efficient way and a healthy way and not all get stored in the auditorium.
Yeah, because that auditorium is rough.
All right. I think that's so. Hopefully that's it. I hope that's enlightening a little bit. I don't know if our analogies land with everybody, but I think it's an important thing to try and understand a little bit about what we're talking about when we say it increases insulin sensitivity. That's a good thing. Insulin resistance, it's a bad thing, and how your body handles this, it really is the key then of what we're talking about, of like losing weight and all those things. It's about how your body is managing this energy that it has and not just storing it in the auditorium.
Yeah.
So great. We hope you're healthier ever after.
Absolutely.
What else have we got? Nothing. That's it for this week.
Yep. We'll talk more about all of it as we go along, and you'll see that like so many of the subjects we talk about intertwine with everything else that we talk about. It's like it's hard sometimes to narrow it down to one specific subject because it really all is interrelated.
It's not like we're like talking about the same thing again and again, and we kind of are, but I think it's helpful. Helps me.
All right. Absolutely. Take care.
Take care.